Yo, what's going on, everybody? Matty Ace here with Profit Props. Welcome back to the Sharp Side. First, as always, we'll recap last week. I believe Joel went 5-5 last week.
Not the best, not the greatest.
Um, and then I went 13-5, but the show only went 5-5. So tough call. Or no, the show went 4-4, and then I just luckily hit every anytime touchdown bet on Sunday. Released those Sunday mornings.
Every single one's crazy.
Just absolutely crazy. But hopefully this week I do have a couple plays. I have four props aside in a total. Actually, three totals. So have some stuff to go over today. Joel's got some things to go over today. We'll just start with the first game. Buffalo at Miami. Looks like it might rain there today. This line opened at Miami -1.5 with the total at 50. Since then, the line has went to Miami -2.5 almost everywhere with a total of 48 to 48.5. I am on Miami's money line at -125, still available at -130. I still think that's a good play. I'm also on the total, but I locked in under 50. Not so confident in the current number.
Yeah, I'll just start us off. I'll touch on some coverage schemes we saw week one for both of these teams, and then we can get into some players that we'd like to look at. Miami, 24% man last week, 72% zone, 56% of that came in single high, closed middle of the field, 44% too high. The main looks they showed 40% cover three. And then second was 16% cover one. As far as Buffalo goes, Buffalo was 68% in too high. So I've seen a lot of people on Jalen Waddle. I think that's probably a good look today. They ran 21% man, about 80% zone, 21.1% cover two, pretty high, 15.8% cover three, and they pretty much mixed their coverages all around. So
Yeah, that's what I was seeing for Buffalo today. And I think week two is kind of a funny week because week one, we don't know if it's did teams play like that because the matchup they were in, or is that maybe the way that they're going to approach this season? I do have one prop. Do you have any props in this game?
I got nothing. I have like a lean, but it's just this game was tough for me. So nothing played for me today.
I do have one. We're going to go Josh Allen anytime touchdown. I'm going to see what the odds are now. FanDuel's still at even money, so it's hardly moved. I locked this in at +105. These are crazy numbers for a
Those are
quarter.
crazy numbers.
And I was doing some even deeper research. You can look my write-up up. I went over this. He was second in the NFL, tied with Jalen Hurts for second in rushing touchdowns inside the 20 last season. So when they get inside the red zone, he's averaging almost two rushing attempts per game. And when he does get two, he's scored in also like 80% of the games over the last 2 years. I think this year they're even less talented in the skill positions as well. So I think he's going to be looking to make it happen even more
Makes sense.
with his legs. So that's the only prop I had in this game. I did want to get your opinion on one other. Don't know if you had
Those are some Cam Newton type numbers, by the way. Like they're using him in the red zone, like Cam Newton was used
seriously
in Carolina. So
he could even break the record this year for rushing touchdowns by a quarterback. What do you think? Do you have any opinion on James Cook receptions over? And I'll go over why I liked it. He had, I think, 3 targets in the first game against Arizona. And this is another thing where, like, I just think they're not talented in the skill position, so they may be looking to get him the ball more.
yeah, and that makes sense to me for sure.
Over in 7 of his last 10, he had 3 last game. And when you look in his last 10 games, his targets, besides the Chargers game, he had 3 targets in each of those games. When he gets 3, numbers are crazy.
And we said Miami heavy cover three. I think cover three is a coverage you like to attack underneath with running backs.
Yeah, it's not like it's a man coverage where somebody's going to be sticking to that back. You have time for the blockers to get out in front. This is the only lean I have for this game. I'm actually going to, while we're live, I'm going to go see what the market's done. See if they've gone up or down. I think the market's gone against what I thought. I believe FanDuel was at minus 120 earlier, and now they're even monies.
Do you know how many routes he ran last week?
I don't off the top of my head.
I can look that up.
FanDuel opened at minus 115 on the over, was as high as minus 130, but now at even money. I don't love it. I don't love it.
So 3 receptions, 32 yards last year, 13% target share, 52% route participation. So that's not terrible.
For a running back.
Yeah. I personally, I think he's right on that line of 3-2. So, it's not something I'm running to play. I don't really look at Cook as like an elite receiving back personally, but I could definitely see him getting there, especially with like the weapons that they currently have.
Right. That's my read. I think I'm going to leave this as a lean, and then when this cashes, I'm going to be upset with myself.
Sure.
I think you had that experience last week. I think everything you leaned on basically cashed last week.
That drove me crazy.
Let's
segue that into, how do you feel about the Bills pass catchers in this one? Like, do you have a clear guy that you think stands out? Do you think there's one that, because somebody's got to catch balls there? They've all got pretty low lines. Josh Allen has like a 240 passing yard line. He's torched Miami in the past.
I had this conversation today with one of my buddies. I think they've just got a platoon of okay receivers right now.
Yeah.
I don't see anyone that is going to I don't think Curtis Samuel's bad.
That's my lean.
Is that what it is?
So he ran, I think, just 9 routes last week.
He had 6 targets though.
No. Last week?
That's what I'm seeing.
No, he only had 2 targets. 2 targets, 2 catches.
They're both I'm sorry. I have away in my filter bar. Yeah, my fault. So he had 2 targets. Yeah. Yep, I see that.
2 targets. He only ran 9 routes.
Okay.
And so he didn't play that much. My guess is that he was dealing with turf toe this offseason. He just started practicing fully again last week. So I think he was probably on some sort of snap count, is what I would just go on a limb and guess. And then there's wrinkles for him that they probably didn't want to show before a Thursday night divisional game against Miami. And so 2.5 receptions for him is like plus 190.
Wow.
And those are some really short routes that they're like getting him involved with. I think his ADOT last week was like 0 yards. So both of them were at the line of scrimmage. You're on Miami money line. I think Miami wins the game as well. So I think Buffalo's probably playing from behind. I think Mac Hollins had a really high snap rate last week. So in my opinion, I think they unleash Samuel this week. And I think to get 3 receptions at plus 190 is almost like criminal for him in this one.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
I was just going to say I completely agree with you. And what I wanted to say for anyone watching that might not know is ADOT is average depth of target, just for anyone that didn't know that. I know
they're right at the line.
Yeah. I know in my Discord I'll use like industry jargon all the time. And then people are like, yeah, what's that?
Sure.
So I just wanted to clarify. Curtis Samuel was interesting. I actually liked him. I thought he was going to have a big year, and I kind of like what you said. They're coming off a short week. He was injured. It makes sense now that they're going to have a longer rest in between this last game, that he might get more looks. I feel similar to that, like I do with James Cook. I'm not going to race to bet it, but I do agree with it.
It's one of those where like it's based on feel, and it's really like a guess, but 3 receptions for that guy who they're going to create balls at the line of scrimmage for him. If he catches 1 ball down the field for a first down, I think he gets 2 screens. I think he gets like 2 screens or like design handoff, something like that.
I know it's a different team, different system, but man, he had crazy usage last year.
And he's like one of the more talented guys in that room, in my opinion. He's just
It's up for grabs.
it's
This
it's
might be a room where, like, if you're doing well, you're going to get more reps at this point.
sure. And he's the guy I would say, like, if you put the ball in his hands, he can create yak for them. And I think that's pretty valuable because I just don't think the other guys really do that. Shakir's really good. I would, like, if I had to pick between these receivers tonight, I think Shakir's the other guy. I think he had really good statistics against cover 3. But for me, like, I want to play that Samuel line so bad, but I'm a little scared. I'm running scared. Scared money don't make no money, though.
Right. Yeah, but you also are not going to lose any early in the season. So
Yeah, true.
yeah, I think I would go probably, because see, you can filter this down. He's probably at least playing 50% of the snaps. So then you look at his. I would take Shakir yards, I think, before receptions. Let's just look at his receptions when he plays 50%.
I agree. His yards are far better.
Yep, I like his yards. That would be another lean for me. Again, I'm just being conservative week 2.
Same.
I'm saying I'm being conservative. I still have like 7 bets, so it's just keeping it semi light. I am going to keep an eye on these leans we talked about. But was there anything else in this game that you liked?
Not really. I still think James Cook's getting that usage. 14.5. We talked about this before the show, but I just think they're playing a better team, so it's hard for me to jump on that when they were playing from behind against Arizona though. So, but I know I was like checking the box score, and I know he got a lot of carries late. So 14.5 is pretty low for a guy that with Joe Brady, he's seen those touches.
You're right. Another thing I just want to comment. I bet you were I feel like he had 54 yards for a whole quarter yesterday or Sunday. Yeah,
I was sweating it, and then they pulled ahead, and thank goodness because they started leaning on him more.
Yep. All right. Yeah, nothing more from me. I do kind of agree with your rushing attempts. This, I don't know. With the rain, will they try to run the ball more? If they get the lead early, you love this spot, and if they go down early, you hate it.
Yep, 100%.
All right. I think that's it for this game, though. Unless you got anything else. I think next we got New Orleans and Dallas. Is that what you got?
Yep.
All right. I got Dallas opened at -7 on the spread. Currently sitting at -6, so it's gone New Orleans' way a little bit. I think they had a strong week 1. I mean, I think they led the NFL in points. Carolina might be the worst team in the league, but I think they did have 47 points. I think that was the most. Total opened at 45.5, currently at 46.5. DraftKings and MGM are at 47. I have not played anything. I do have a play in this game. Yep, I do have a prop. I'll let you go over coverages, though.
Yeah, so Dallas, big change from last year. Mike Zimmer, 83% zone. They were a heavy man team last year. Those were basically split between 1 high and 2 high. 32% cover 3, and then they mix the rest between cover 4, cover 6, cover 2, and cover 1. As far as New Orleans, a lot of 1 high from them, 66%, 41% man, so heavier man-to-man team. Most of that coming from cover 1, 33%, 33% in cover 3 as well. CeeDee Lamb, really good against man. We talked about this last week. Didn't have the game against Cleveland, but that's a guy that you'd want to attack if the secondary wasn't as good as the Saints, in my opinion. I think the Saints secondary is really good.
Yeah, that was a tough game for I'm not necessarily a Bryce Young believer, but first game of the season, that was a tough matchup. I did cash Adam Thielen. I told y'all that if I were going to have a 2-unit play last week, that would have been it. I didn't, but I did.
Like we said though, Bryce Young, hard to trust him. It was a sweat. Played out exactly as we said.
Yeah. So I do have one prop in this. I'm going to go Derek Carr under 221.5 receiving yards. Lock this in at FanDuel. Still available at FanDuel. Everyone else has bumped their line down. Not sure how I feel about that. I would like to see FanDuel move down a little bit. like you said, Dallas ran 83.6% zone last week. Passer rating wasn't great for Carr against man or zone, but it was a little worse, 93.7 versus zone last season. I just think this Dallas defense is good. PFF, which isn't by any means always correct, but they do have the Saints offensive line ranked 23rd. Dallas's defense is solid. We saw that against your Browns. So I think this line is too high. I understand that they'll probably be losing and that he'll have to be looking to pass the ball early and often. But I think they impressed us enough that line's only 7. And if they can keep that game somewhat close, I think Alvin Kamara, he surprised me with his workload. He's on my fantasy team. So pleasantly surprised me with his workload in week 1, and it worked. So I wouldn't be surprised if you see something similar in week 2.
So for me, I lean his over specifically because of the offensive system they now have in place. They were one of the dead last teams last year in terms of pre-snap motion, and I think last week they were first. And when I see things like that, I love that as far as like production from quarterbacks, production from wideouts, because I just think it opens up so much more of the game. And so for me, I think that's a low line for him. He, if you go to his if you bring up his passing yards on props.cash, I think he had like a 9 yards per attempt last week. Love seeing stuff like that. 200 yards on, what was it, only 23 attempts, 19 of 23. So seems like a system he's really going to thrive in. This isn't exactly the defense I'd want to play it against, which is why I didn't play it, because like you said, that offensive line's really, really bad. And I think they're going to be able to get after him and pressure him. So I didn't play Derek Carr, but I think
this is – I'm sorry, go ahead. I thought you were finished.
Go ahead. I just think he has weapons, and I think that the system with the pre-snap motion is going to be so good for him going forward.
I was just going to say, I think I like that we're not always on everything in this show, kind of being able to give 2 perspectives.
For sure.
Still, I still like my Carr lean, but I see how my Carr play, I should say, but I see how you could see the other side of it. And I hope game script wise, Saints keep this game within 7, and Alvin Kamara is kind of the workhorse. That's the read. That's the hope. Market has kind of agreed with me, but then FanDuel's holding strong. So that does also worry me a little bit. Did you have any plays in this one?
I have nothing in this one. I leaned Olave. Olave had a really, really bad week last week. I think they try to kind of, force the ball into him a little bit more. He had a low line, I think 59.5, but this is another game. I just don't, it's two really solid defenses in my opinion. I don't know if the Saints are as good up front, but that back end is pretty good. I just decided to stay away.
There's nothing for me either. I looked into Kamara today. Olave's on my fantasy team later. You would think with 47 points. Yeah, seriously. With 47 points in that game,
for me too.
Get something. So maybe that's a little bit of spite there. I was thinking about playing his under, but against the Dallas defense, it also makes sense. Also makes sense with me on Carr's under. I forget, what did he have last week? Let's go back to Carr. Carr. I know they were up a lot of the game, but
200 yards.
And that he had a 58-yard passing touchdown. You know what I mean? So if this game stays close, I'll be happy with this. If Dallas blows them out, they're down 14 going into the second half. I'll probably chalk this one up as an L. But
Dallas did a really good job last week of keeping everything underneath against the Browns as well. I mean, you didn't see they were 0 for 10, I think, on passes 15 or more yards down the field. So
Watson had 45 passing attempts. I don't know that he cleared this number. He had like 170, didn't he?
He was terrible. Let's just move on from
that. I like it. We'll go ahead and transition into the next game. I've got Las Vegas at Baltimore. Is that what you got?
Yep.
All right, Las Vegas. This game opened Baltimore -7. It's currently -8, -9. Sharps definitely smacked this as soon as it opened. Circa opened 8.5. So the people that opened early were just awful. 42.5 was the total opener. It's currently at 41.5. So it has came down a little bit. And I'm not seeing any plays for me in this one. I've
I
got
do. I have one in here.
perfect. You want to go ahead and go over coverages and then transition into
Yeah.
that?
So Vegas, 71% zone last week, split evenly, one high, two high. 25% cover two was one of the highest in the leagues.
I noticed that.
39% cover three. So a lot of zone there. Baltimore, 40% man, pretty much split evenly, one high, two high. 36% cover one, 16.7% cover three, 26.7% cover four. I actually have two plays in this game.
You wanna start with Minshew?
The first one was Gardner Minshew over 204.5 passing yards. This is just a low line for him, in my opinion. I think he's got good weapons here, and I think with the spread, the game state is going to be pass for this Raiders team. Just like that, like when Minshew plays, you know, half the game, he's hit this number in 65% of his games, and I just think they're going to have to throw a ton. I think he's got better weapons than he had last year when he was putting up these numbers. So, you know, Mahomes kind of chunked them up last week, and I'm not saying that Minshew's Mahomes whatsoever, but when you see a 200 passing line, it's just so low that it's something that I had to jump on.
I like it. That Baltimore. I mean, you're gonna again. This is going to be under the assumption that they will be losing this game from the jump. This game,
Yep.
This line's gone from 7 to 9, over in 7 of 10, averaging 250. Again, it was a different team, but you're adding Devontae Adams to his weapons now. So I like this read.
Yeah, you know, they lost a ton of players on defense too. Clowney, Darby, Rock Yassin, Patrick Queen, Geno Stone. So a lot of losses on the Baltimore side of the defense. And then last year, 14 of 19 starting quarterbacks covered this line against them. I just think with the heavy spread leaning towards Baltimore, and I think Baltimore will be winning this game. Just had to hop on Minshew here. I think this line should be like 220.
You also have another play in this game. Is that correct?
I do.
We're going Mark Andrews here. I got you. I'm
Yeah.
gonna go ahead and transition over.
Yeah. Also, I'm buying low on Mark Andrews. When you watch back the film last week, Isaiah Likely went absolutely nuclear, and most of that was because of just how the Chiefs played him. It was a ton of bracket coverage, and just like it was like take Mark Andrews out of the game. He only had 2 targets, but he ran a majority of the routes. He played 76% of the snaps. He ran more routes than Likely did. So to have him even here with Isaiah Likely is crazy to me off of one down game. I know he comes off that injury, but to me, this is just too low for Andrews. I think he's the number 2, like locked in as the number 2 in this offense. And he's going to take I was watching back the film. He was taking more downfield routes than Isaiah Likely as well. I just think just getting a major discount on a player that's been too good at showing he can get to this number with like the rapport he has with Lamar Jackson. So
2 questions for you. First, what did you say? What was the split for Las Vegas in their zone versus man coverage?
Heavy zone, and then 40% cover 3, like heavy cover 3, cover 2.
Okay. And
I looked at him against those looks last season. 19% target share. I think it was just Zay Flowers ahead of him at like 24%. So he's got a 3.5 receptions line. Lamar Jackson has a 30 pass attempts line. So if he stuck to like that 19, 20%, you'd expect 5 to 6 targets. I think he comes down with 4 receptions for him is like plus money. I went with the yards instead because I could see him just getting like a huge chunk on one of them, like ending on 3 for like 43 yards or something. So
I think the best thing that could have happened for Mark Andrews is what happened last week in Likely being so effective. I think they went in with a game plan that Likely wouldn't kill him, and they're very lucky, he didn't wear a size 10 shoe
They were
because that game
basically
went into
leaving him
overtime.
wide open.
Exactly. And I think because he played so well, I don't think we'll see that approach near as much going forward.
No. They've got two really good receiving tight ends. I mean, that's pretty clear.
Just to circle back to something we were talking about too, I just looked it up. 27.8% last year for Mark Andrews in zone in general. That's not specific to cover 3, but I love this spot. Yards per game, 36.2, and teams don't play cover 2 100% of the time. Yeah. Exactly. So I really like that spot. He was actually exactly tied, which is kind of amazing, with Zay Flowers in reception yards per game. And keep in mind that he should be completely healthy now too, which I think will affect those numbers.
Yeah, I mean, he played 70% of the snaps and ran the most routes at the tight end, so I'm not overly concerned there. So any leans from you in this one?
So it's not necessarily a lean. I got burned with it last time. Devontae's target share is higher versus zone, and you mentioned I think Baltimore ran the 6th most man. They ran zone 58% of the time, but still
a heavy amount, but
still a heavy amount. So I was actually vice versa of last week, leaning Devontae's receptions under.
Okay.
But I'm not going to play that. That's a lean for me.
Sure.
I'd like to maybe see how Minshew performs. Hearing you on Minshew's over doesn't necessarily support that or make me feel better about that either. And the fact that they could be losing. He should get force-fed the ball as he should have last week.
Yeah, 100% he should. And I don't know why he wasn't last week, but
agreed. So I'm just going to kind of sit back and pay attention to what Las Vegas does this week.
How do you feel about Derrick Henry's rushing attempts? This opened at 16.5. It's 17.5 now. He had 13 last week in a game where they were pretty much playing from behind
the whole time.
The whole game. If this was still 16.5, I probably would have jumped on it. It bumped pretty fast when it dropped.
I think this is a 20 plus. First of all, I think everybody's hearing the shit from last week. Like, why didn't he get the ball more? 5 attempts on the first possession, scored a touchdown. That was my first anytime touchdown bet on this show. Shout outs. And then, he only had 4 more attempts. I think you said the rest of the game. That's kind of unreal.
He ended on 13.
13. Okay. So he had 9.
13 in that game script that's pretty good, dude. That's pretty good.
You think? Well, I mean, because they
were down so much. Yeah.
To
get 13 when they were like basically the whole second half, they were just like dropping back, throw, and Lamar was just running around. So,
and they did close that up, tighten the gap late in the game.
And it was so much Justice Hill at that point.
Yeah, he is obviously the receiving back. I think they need to mix that up a little bit. It's kind of predictable. Same with Pittsburgh. You almost know if Waddle's in, it's going to be a run. You almost know with Justin Hill. And I think it'll help Derrick Henry. But the way Lamar ran, I think the read option this year with those two is going to be ridiculous.
I agree. If this was 16.5, I'm probably on it. But at 17.5, it's just a touch high for me, man.
I agree. I love the game script. They're going to go up. I think, like I said, it's a 9-point spread now, 9.5 even at some books. So
crazy.
I agree. 16.5, I would have played it. 17.5, it's probably moved too much. We got a divisional game coming up. I did not mention that about this Miami Buffalo game. It is a divisional game. Giants at Washington. I have Washington opened at -2.5, currently sitting at -1.5. It's gone the Giants' way a little bit here. Total opened at 41.5, currently sitting at 43. So the total's also gone up. What about the coverages?
Commanders 23% man last year. The Giants 23%, or last week 23% as well. So a lot of zone coming here. For the Commanders, it's going to mostly be cover 3. A lot of cover 2 from them as well, 23%. From the Giants, 34% cover 3. They're going to play secondary, cover 1 man, and then just mix the rest underneath. I've got some lanes here as well, but I don't have a prop in this game yet. But I'm definitely playing something. I don't know if you have a prop in this one yet, but.
No, I would love to hear what you have because I don't know what to think of this team. Giants, what's their identity without Saquon? I do have a Terry McLaurin, whatever. Receiving yards over season total, but he only had 17 in week 1, so I'm worried about that. I was backing the rookie because once they traded the former first round pick to Philly, I'm blanking on his name. I assumed Terry's target share to be ridiculous. That was not the case in week one, so I'm
Wasn't the case
sweating
at all.
that. This is the Giants secondary is awful. So
The Giants secondary is terrible, and the Commanders secondary might be legitimately worse. Like Baker lit them up last week.
Yes, he did. I
And
had Mike Evans
so
every time Tutter. He had 2 of them.
8 catches for Godwin, 2 out of the slot. Wandale had, I think, 12 targets last week, which is really noteworthy. But they also were playing from behind for the entire game. I expect this one to be way closer.
I do
don't
too.
think either of these
Market
teams are very
agrees.
good. Yeah. For me, and this is just disgusting to even say, I want to play Daniel Jones passing yards
Over.
over. I want Daniel Jones passing yards over. I'm so low on this Washington secondary, and I think like it's ugly. When you look at it, it's ugly.
But then you look up here.
But then
32nd.
and then you look at the weapons he had last year. You add Malik Neighbors to the mix, and you look at just how terrible this secondary is. I'm between this and I'm between Malik Neighbors over 66.5 receiving yards. I want to play one of the two. Neighbors, though, popped up on the injury report today.
Oh,
So
did he?
He did.
What were
He's
his targets?
limited.
He had 7 targets in week 1. Okay.
7 targets. I just think that this, like, I am insanely low on the secondary.
His targets are at 5.5. Give me a second. I'll pull up. Do you know what his average depth of target was week 1?
Yeah, I can pull that up real fast. I think some of those targets that were going to Wandale as well are just going to shift to Neighbors. He's just the most talented receiver in that room.
One thing I want to
only a 14% target rate last week, which is like it's crazy to me.
Yeah.
But yeah, his ADOT was 7 yards down the field.
Okay. One thing to point out to people on desktop, I don't use the app much, but on desktop you can now go back and see how positions have done versus teams, which I think is really cool that props.cash added.
Definitely.
And on the WNBA app, for anyone that uses it there as well, they've actually added some really cool things in that section. What teams allow to point guards, shooting guards, small forwards, power forwards, centers. If they have that for NBA, I'm going to be so happy. Just pointing that out for anyone that uses the desktop version. I like Malik better than Daniel Jones in this scenario. I don't know if it's because it's like sexier, like if I'm going to do a write-up,
sure.
I'd rather it be Malik Neighbors than damn Daniel Jones.
Sure. Daniel Jones is terrible, but I don't want to decide between Neighbors and Wandale here.
No,
that's why I want to play Daniel Jones. And the reason his line is so like much higher than like the times he's hit is because of how bad this secondary is.
How many targets did Eckler have week 1? Because I know he basically said, I don't want to work as hard. He had 4 targets. What was his carries like?
Bad.
2 rush attempts? Oh, my God. He looked there to be a bum.
Bad.
Wow.
Yeah, he's their passing down back.
Okay. Yeah, he said, I don't want to do as much. He fucking meant it.
Yeah.
All right. Shit. Good for him. He still got paid. I don't have anything else in this game.
How do you feel about Devin Singletary's rushing attempts?
Okay, I like that.
13.5. He had 10 last week, but they were playing from behind the entire game. Scroll down and look at his snap share. I think he played 70% of the snaps, and he took.
Yes, he did.
I know Daboll talked about him in the beginning of the season as basically like a workhorse. They want him to just basically be an every down back. He had 65% of the opportunity share there. So it's like, are the Giants going to be in this game to where they can run him?
See, that's the thing. Look here, in games that they've won and he's played 70+%.
Yeah, but so I don't think you can take these because these come
from Houston.
at Houston.
Yeah, good call. I don't know. It's one of those ones where it's one of those plays where people that only look at like last fives, last tens are going to hate it. You're kind of game scripting here.
I mean, if
I don't know.
if
And
they
it's
can
like
keep
you
it
said,
close,
Dayball's calling plays again. So what are you going to get out of Dayball?
true.
So
I
I
mean,
don't
he threw
know.
it so many times last week. I mean, 10 carries though in that game script's pretty decent because Daniel Jones threw it 42 times. So
Yeah, that was Minnesota, right?
You
Lost
think
28.
Daniel Jones drops to 35 attempts and you got 7 extra carries to go around to a running back.
Daniel Jones could even have the ball more. I guess Minnesota did kind of score fast, but I'd like to see the time of possession on that game.
So those are my 3 leans here. My other lean was, and this one's interesting too, Jaden Daniels over passing and rushing yards.
Okay, he was over in week 1, just over.
254.5 against a terrible secondary. So I think he's got room for improvement when it comes to passing yards. And he ran like a maniac last week. Like he'll take off and run. He had 16 rush attempts. I know Dan Quinn said he doesn't want to run him as much going forward.
Do you know how that offensive line ranked?
But he's just good. I could pull up PFF.
Yeah, see what that offensive line ranks at. I'd be interested to know that. I think this is interesting. I didn't realize his rushing attempt volume was that high last week.
Really high. And so look, how many yards did he throw for? It was like under 200, I think.
Passing yards, he threw for 184 yards.
Yeah, so I think there's a lot that could go. I think like that's going up this week. I think the secondary in New York's far worse.
His rushing yard line is interesting. I'm not going to run and play it after 1 week, but
her offensive line was pretty average last week.
Washington versus Tampa Bay. Yeah, he's definitely playing a much inferior opponent. That being said, he should be able to stay in the pocket and probably pass it longer. Have longer.
But that's why I want the pass and rush together because
I like that read.
Like I wouldn't play either of them solo, neither of them. But together, I think he's going to account for a ton of that offensive yardage in that offense.
Yeah, and I don't see the Giants breaking out to a lead here. I actually really like this the more you talk about it. I'm really high on Tampa Bay this year.
Defensively too, yeah.
Exactly. And seeing what he did against Tampa Bay, I mean, I'm talking Tampa Bay's top 5, New York Giants are bottom 5. So to see regression there, again, we have 1 game sample size, but I'm not expecting regression, not 22 yards of regression, because I'm not expecting them to be in the lead. I'm also not expecting the Giants to kick you know what I mean? I'm not expecting this to be a similar loss to last week, 37-20, but I think his yards would go up. This actually, out of everything you've suggested, is actually probably my favorite.
This, to me, like I could see him throwing for 235 yards against this team. And so you don't have that much slack to pick up. And if he like he showed last week, he ran for like 80-something yards. I don't see that happening. I mean, I could see him in like the 50s, 60s though.
Right. And the market has him at 52.5. So like you said, if he gets to 225, he'll soar over this number. I like it. That's probably my favorite one. I'm also and I think people that have been watching me for a long time know this. I am so slow to bet on rookies unless it's fading. Sure. I'm fading Caleb Williams this week. That's going to come out later, but yeah, I'm slow, and honestly, his supporting cast isn't great. Although I don't know, Eckler as a passing back might be able to do something yards after
that helps. Catch. That helps.
Yes, that's my favorite lean out of all the leans in this game.
Noted.
Chargers Carolina. Let's see where it opened at. Chargers at Carolina. Open Chargers -4.5. I believe this has gone to 6.5. This one's kind of all over the place. We have Circa at -4.5, Pinnacle at -6.5. A lot of books sitting at -5. I would say -5 is the true number right there. Are currently in that game. And then the total 40.5 is where it opened, currently sitting at 39. So it's absolutely came down. We even had ESPN bet at 38.5. Bovada at 38.5. Let me see if I'm on anything in this game. No.
This game is disgusting, but
No.
I'll run through the coverages real quick.
Perfect.
Chargers 85% zone, 32.5% cover 2, highest in the league. Second highest in the league in cover 6 as well. So some weird coverages coming over there. The Panthers 15% man, so heavy zone there as well. 57.7% cover 3, highest in the league. So there's definitely some things to attack here because the tendencies are so drastic. I'm not betting on a Bryce Young offensive player. I don't want to do it.
No, I bet on Adam
right,
Thielen last week. I'm not running that back. I got bailed out. It might have been late third, early fourth. Exactly kind of how I expressed or talked about how it would happen. There'd be a 20, 25-yard bomb that kind of bailed us out. It's exactly what happened. He had like 17 yards and then caught one for about 25. I think he finished with 48. We needed 39. I'm not running that back this week. And I loved Adam Thielen last week. And I think I said this last week on the show. I thought Bryce Young was going to make an improvement this year. And I know the Saints defense might be okay, but I am all the way off of that belief now.
Oh, and this Chargers defensive front is scary
Nasty.
good. Scary good. He's going to be in trouble all day long.
I don't know how you could back anything offensively in this game. What about Chargers?
For an over. I think for some unders, there's
Agreed.
As far as the Chargers, though, I saw my buddy Props from Prime play Gus Edwards rushing over, which I think it's a good look.
New system. He was with Baltimore.
I expect the Chargers to be winning. He was. That's the thing that throws me off. Like when you take out the threat of Lamar Jackson running, how good is Gus Edwards actually? So like that's what keeps me off of that.
He had a 42% snap share there last week, splitting time with J.K.
11 carries.
Bro, how hilarious is it that both Ravens' last 2 running backs are on the Chargers now?
That's crazy.
They should have
and their offensive coordinator.
Yeah, they should have a good run game though.
And Dobbins was amazing last week. Let's just say that.
I don't have a read in this game.
I can't. Look at Herbert's passing yards. This is like just crazy to even see this.
He was way low, right? 144
206 passing yards for Justin Herbert. You never would have 2 years ago if you told me that was a line. I'm backing up the Brinks truck on that one.
Yep. I mean, this Carolina defense is pretty good. I think they were top 10 last year.
It's not. I don't think it's terrible. I would call it mediocre, but
closer to the middle.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not playing an under on Bryce Young under 186, which it's honestly a good play. Look at it, but I can't bring. I mean, that's so low. If you're an NFL quarterback, you have to be able to throw for 200 yards.
Looks like there's even a 195 out there. He's under that in 12 of his 17 professional games.
Fanatics is such a Mickey Mouse book, man.
So I know. It's funny. I have multiple P2s, and I just won one of my guys a free jersey. You know, he was all happy, and I was like, "Now, don't get mad at me when it gets limited, and I gotta let it
go." yeah.
But no, I don't have anything, bro. Like I said, I will go over Thielen. Like this was a wagon for me last year, with the addition of actually. Yeah, let me just see what the target share, because I think Thielen only had 4 targets. Let's just look. Yeah, he had 4 targets, and Deontay had 6.
It's like
Bryce Young's just so bad. Like they
both had to throw. How many attempts did he have?
Well, they went 3 and out so often that I'm pretty sure it's fewer than you'd think. 30. To be down by that much that often. Like Deshaun Watson had 45. At least they got a first down or 2.
Yeah, not
I hate to keep bringing up your team. But yeah, so I don't know. I can't trust anything in this game. Completely off everything.
I don't want to touch anything in this game. It's just like it's the most mucky game I think that I've.
Indy at Green Bay is our next one, and this one's going to be kind of confusing because we got the Jordan Love injury. Indy opened
Yeah, and
minus
that's
three.
another.
They opened -3 against. So they opened -3 except for books like DraftKings that opened shit way too early and had them at like -6. Those were before week 1 started. True openers here were Indy -3 with a total of 41. The market's now currently at Indy -2.5, right around 40. Not a lot of movement here. Hard for me to play anything here because I don't know what to expect out
Yeah,
of Green Bay. What are your thoughts? Your coverages, and what are your thoughts?
Indy cover 3, 52.6%, cover 2, 23.7%. That's like the second highest cover 3 in the league. When it comes to Green Bay, 30.8% cover 3. They'll mix man in with that. They ran 28% man, 25.6% cover 1. I agree with you 100%. Like, I need to know what's happening with Jordan Love in this game to even script out how I feel like it's going to go.
Yep.
I will say I have a heavy lean on Jonathan Taylor's over rushing yards. I think this Packers front can be, really attacked. And he was a bell cow last week. I mean, if you scroll down to his carries,
16, and that's low.
16, but look at the snap percentage there.
96%.
If he's going to be on the field like that, and you have the threat of Anthony Richardson running the football as well, it's hard for me to not back this, especially seeing how Barkley ran all over this Packers defense last week.
Yeah, I'm going to have to go look at what the market's done because you might have just talked me on to this one.
Yeah, it's a heavy, heavy lean for me. And especially if Jordan Love sits and Malik Willis is there at quarterback, I mean, give me this all day.
I was very surprised to see that Jordan Love didn't go on the 4-week injury report.
I was too.
Jonathan.
I'm surprised they're even saying he has a chance to play.
Yeah.
They were acting like it was some crazy bad.
Is that coach speak, though? Just so they don't.
Probably.
All right. So Taylor's definitely gone up too. Like 77s to 80s. I don't know if I'm going to play this right now, but I think you've talked me on to this one.
Yeah, I think I will eventually end up on this.
Lock this one down, y'all, as a heavy lean. Look at this one. His snap count's over 71%. He's got a 62%.
Even like let's say, so he had how many carries last week? Houston's
16.
got a really, really good defense. Yeah, just take down the snap share and just go 15 plus carries because I think you can lock him into that.
Agreed. He's still at 97 yards. He's got a couple stinkers, but he's still averaging 97.
And I think this Packers defensive line is, it's not their strong suit. We saw exactly what Saquon did to them last week.
Philly. Yeah, 178 yards. Is that what he had?
A lot of these are without a running quarterback too. I really think that you add the threat of the running quarterback. I love that opens up so much more for a running back.
Yeah, you're right. Wow, they've really only had 2 games together. That's crazy.
He was holding out.
This is damn, bro. I almost want to take this one.
I think I probably will. Last week Kenny Clark was a 39.4 grade, a PFF grade inside. I mean, their whole front seven was graded out terribly last week, the Packers.
Yeah, and I want to reiterate what you said. He had 48 last week, but that Houston defense is solid. Don't sleep on that Houston defense. And that's a divisional game.
That Houston defense has taken a major step forward this year. Unquestionably.
I don't know what to do. I'll probably leave this as a lean to. You almost like that. That one's close for me.
I'm probably going to end up playing that just because I don't think Jordan Love plays, and I think if you can get out ahead, I just don't see Malik Willis keeping them on the field.
What's his rushing attempts line at? 18 and a half. Yeah, bro.
Like he's looking to get fed.
I just want to see what is
Oh yeah, I mean if you go 18 plus, it's looking real
109.
nice.
Should I just play this?
I mean, I'm playing it with you if you do.
I think I'm just gonna play this right now. Let's see what the worst.
I looked into this one and I've been leaning heavily on this. Like,
I see 78 110 at MGM. I'm gonna go check FanDuel and ESPN real quick.
yeah, MGM's the best, I think.
78.5 110.
Yeah. I don't think FanDuel's dropped his line yet.
So that's my odds screen doesn't have it up either, but sometimes they're just slow, so I didn't know. You seeing a line for ESPN because my odds screen doesn't have it up either.
I'm limited, so I just don't even bother with them anymore.
I hear you. That's why you gotta get yourself a couple betting partners.
I guess so.
Because I'm limited to fuck, but this phone isn't. My phone, betting phone.
I'll check on FanDuel real fast. Yeah, it's not up. I'm taking our MGM. I'm cool with it. I like this look. This is one of my. I have another one that's a runner that I'm just got a really, really heavy lean on.
MGM is the best price. What's my fault? What's your other one?
We'll talk when we get to the game. We'll talk about it. But I just like this is
Okay.
one of them. I mean, Saquon averaged 4.5 yards per carry last week.
Yeah, crazy.
If you're Jonathan Taylor for his career, you know, last year was 4.4. He was 5.5 before. If he averages 4.4 and you get him 18 carries, I mean, he's covering that.
All right, I got that bet and released, and we're good. All right, anything else for this game, or we want to keep it pushing? Got about 40, 50 minutes till kickoff.
Let's keep it pushing.
Okay, we just finished up Indy Green Bay. We got San Francisco at Minnesota. San Francisco opened -5. Total opened at 45. Lines currently -5 and 46 to 46.5. No movement on the side. Total's gone up a little bit, and I'll let you dig into the coverages for us.
Yeah, Minnesota only 4% man last game, which is
wow,
crazy. 32.7% cover 4, 26.5% cover 2, 83.7% too high. And then on the other side, San Francisco.
Bro, I'm seeing
San Francisco was 38.7% man, 22.6% cover 2, 35.5% cover 1.
I think it might be Fade Ayuk season. I don't know.
This
5.9%
is
of targets versus zone last week on 15 routes ran. Let me check 23 real quick.
What's Ayuk's line? None of these lines have dropped yet, so that's why I've been waiting for these.
It's because everybody's
55.5.
Everyone's going to wait and see on CMC. He's questionable. I think doubtful.
Debo at 52.5. Debo, so the Vikings like to leave the middle of the field open.
Okay.
Like I said, 83.7% too high, middle of the field open. I don't know exactly what the stats were last year. I can look it up real quick here. Against those too high looks, and I'll just
too high open versus zone. I've got it pulled up here.
Yeah, just throw in too high open for Debo, and you'll see some magical stuff for that guy.
I see. Wow. Yeah, led the team in target share at 28.3%. Yep.
Yeah,
Catch rate was over
he eats
70.
he eats into the middle of that field. What is his yards per route run?
Surprisingly low, 6.7. That's against just zone coverage.
3.23 yards per route run. Oh, that's just against zone.
Yeah, just
Um,
against zone.
cover 2, cover 4. I just want to see what it is. Cover 2, cover 4.
Let me go ahead and pull this up on our screen. Just look.
Yeah, so that they could see. Yeah, I mean, 31.3% target share against those specific coverages. 4.17 yards per route run when they leave it too high. It's for me, it's just got to be Debo this week.
I really like. So we're going to assume because of how much zone they ran, his target share is going to be higher, right? He averages 7. If we're going to play above average team, we can maybe expect 8 targets. Over an 83%. I mean, maybe he doesn't get 13, but what's 8 to 11 targets? Oh shit. Still, I really like his receiving yards over.
I love it.
Let's say he gets.
I was waiting for this one to drop earlier. This is just one where like 6.7 ADOT, but like he's going to yak 4.17 yards per route he runs. I mean, that's way up there. I think he's one of the highest in the league against too high.
Let me go see what the market's done. This is, you might have talked to me on another one. My only concern here is just they whooped the shit out of the Giants, and he gets maybe 4 or 5 targets because they just don't need to throw the ball.
Yeah, I mean, that's fair.
Or the Vikings. I'm sorry, not the Giants. Receiving yards.
It's at Minnesota, though, in a dome, too.
Market, yeah, this really just opened at 2 o'clock today. Not done anything. I'm going to keep this as a heavy lean, but I do want to tell you that my model has it at 65 yards.
Okay.
So I do see there's over a 5% edge, which is usually what I need to pull it.
Let's just real quick.
6.81 is what I make that edge. I might be on that before Sunday.
I'll probably be playing that.
Anything else you have on this game or anything else on Debo?
I do also like Purdy passing yards here.
Okay.
It was 232 when I was looking at it. I think it's gone up, but Prop Bomb, me and Prop Bomb were talking about this one, and the Vikings like the blitz, like 24% last week. Purdy just kills the blitz and kills zone. So I like this. What worries me is his completion line or his attempts line, I mean. So, like, I don't think you can go like it's juiced under on 29.5. I don't think you can filter for that. Like, I think he's probably somewhere in the 25 to 30 range. And so I just couldn't get there to play it personally because 25 to 30 attempts is just not a lot.
See, and that's where I'm glad I didn't just run and play Debo because I agree with that completely. And Debo's target share may go up, but if the attempts go down, he may see no additional targets, right? He may still only see 5, 6, 7, even though that may be 30% of the targets against zone in that game.
I mean, if he's at 30 attempts, though, and Debo's at like a 33% share?
33.3, yeah, I believe so.
Yeah, I mean, that's putting him at like 9 to 10 targets.
You're right.
But like we said, they don't specifically play those coverages. So those are just like their heaviest. Like that's 50% of their coverages.
Okay. Yep.
So maybe settle on like 8 targets, 7, 8 targets.
Yep. I still would like yards better, I think, in that scenario than
Oh,
receptions.
I definitely think yards is better because
Yeah.
he can break one off at any time too. Like he's just one of those guys, big play threat. And I also think you have to think about the Vikings defensive interior is really good. They were extremely good against the run last year. I don't think that the Niners, and I thought this against the Jets too, and they absolutely just ran them down the field with Jordan Mason, but I just don't think they're going to be able to run super effectively. I'm heavily leaning on taking Debo in this one.
Yeah, I like Debo's yards here. I like his yards better than his passing attempts or yards now that you bring that up. But nothing official from me. Let me pull this back up. Yeah, nothing official from me. Nothing official from you then.
No, not for right now. I'll probably end up playing this tonight though.
Next is going to be your team, Cleveland at Jacksonville, revenge game. I actually really like Cleveland plus the points here a lot.
I do too.
I
Thank you.
don't think
Thank you.
I don't think they should be the dog. Look, they look
I
bad.
don't either.
Jacksonville's trash. I mean,
But
if you look
I
at
have bias. So
I mean, I don't. I mean, I'm
thank you.
mostly a Pittsburgh fan at this point, and I think Cleveland would whoop the fuck out of them. So I like Cleveland here. This open Jacksonville minus 2.5. That's really where it's at still. There's some threes, some 2.5s. Open 42, came down a half a point. My expectation is if the total's coming down, that's better for the Browns than the Jaguars.
Yeah.
So I'll let you go into coverages here. But I really like the Browns. Really like the Browns.
Cleveland 31% man, 85% one high. So that's the highest in the league.
Okay.
What did I just do there? They'll run 31% cover 1, 51% cover 3. That's actually pretty decent change from last season. As far as Jacksonville, 53.7% cover 1, 73.2% man. And I don't know if that was just game
it's their
plan.
New coordinator. It's their new coordinator.
I don't if they're going to play 73% man. I like the prop I have in this game. 19.5% cover 2 and 19.5% cover 2 man. That is some heavy man coverage. I'll say that. There was no team that finished last year above 40% in man coverage. So just keep that in mind. I don't know if that was game plan to try to stop Tyreek and
that's the worst game plan.
It would be a terrible game plan.
Looking into this game a little bit more, Cleveland at Jacksonville. You said Jacksonville ran mostly man. How did your boy do? I don't want to call him your boy. That's Deshaun. How did the quarterback of your team do?
Not great. I mean, he just didn't do great in general.
No, I hear you. Watson, let's go see what his rate was. 91.5, Watson. Not impressive, bud. I still like him this week. Did you say you have a prop?
I do. I have him
money line, but I don't have a prop.
See, I like that a lot too. I just tried to keep my bias out of it, but I have Deshaun Watson over 11.5 longest rush.
That's right.
And so this is heavily influenced by the fact that they're going to play that much man. And when I was watching the game last week, he dropped his head. He looked to run a ton and escape pockets. Cleveland probably gets back their 2 tackles. I don't think the Browns want him taking as many hits as he took, but I think on like crucial downs, like he's totally still fine with just taking off and running. And when you have a team that plays so much man, their backs are always turned to the quarterback. They're not keeping them in front of them. So I think it's pretty likely that Deshaun breaks off over a 12-yard run. And you could see here he's done it at 9 out of 13 since he's been in Cleveland.
Yeah, I didn't look at that angle, but I really like it now that you're showing it here. It looks like it hasn't moved yet either for anyone that wants to jump on this ASAP. I love this spot. Over 9 of his last 13.
I got some stats too. This was from an article published in 2018, so I'm guessing this has changed a little bit. But against man, quarterbacks averaged 8.76 yards per carry. Against zone, 6.93. So decent difference. And yeah, I'm sure it's changed because quarterbacks have gotten even faster since then. So I'm sure that it's kind of widened up.
Yeah, and I don't think they're going to play contain against Deshaun Watson. Well, obviously they're not. They played so much man. He only has 5 or 6 attempts too. So getting that done on just 5 or 6 attempts, I like that spot a lot. Anything else? Any other leans for you in this game?
Yeah, I mean, Deshaun's passing yards, he's just got to be better than what he's shown. And like, but this is my bias creeping in because it's like
Well, they
I
allowed
can't play it. I
300
can't
yards
play it.
last week, right? I think
Yeah,
didn't Tua have 330 something?
yeah. I mean, he diced them up.
This is Watson's like redemption game. You know what I mean?
He
Watson has
has
to
to.
come
He
out and
has
play
to be
well.
good. He
Yes,
has
I
to be
agree.
good. Like, there's not even.
If he has less than 212, that's because they're up 30-0 into the first half, and Jerome Ford has 30 attempts in the
And
second.
I don't think they can run that good. Jerome Ford did look solid last week, but I don't have much faith in him as like a primary back. He doesn't break tackles.
Waiting for
He
Chubb
puts
to
them
get
behind
back
the
week 4,
chains.
week 5.
And so the pass rush is going to be way, way worse with Jacksonville too. Like, it's just going to be way worse. So he's going to have time back there.
Yep. No, I like this read. I like the rushing better than the passing, but
Yeah,
I agree
same.
that he should get this done.
Same. He should.
Rushing, you said, was an official play. This was a lean. Any receivers, or did you not go there this week? I know you had Judy last week. I don't know how
I
he
had
how he
Judy.
did.
I still like Judy. 8 targets last week. Judy should have covered. He caught a ball over the middle and got hit and dropped it. It was like a 20-yard gain, which would have covered. I feel like that happened to me a bunch last week. But I still like Judy. 44.5, and Njoku's out now. I wish this was still down at like the 36.5 number because that was like an amazing number here. Judy's a really good route runner in my opinion.
I like the over.
I just see him getting over. I saw him getting open more than Amari. I watched the all 22 in this game too because just trying to see like what Deshaun Watson was looking at, and I feel like Judy got open more than Amari did even.
Okay.
Amari missed that sluggo, but for me, it's Judy. I actually think Elijah Moore is probably a decent play here too. With no Njoku, 21.5, pretty low.
Wow. He had 3 attempts in week 1, 4 attempts in week 1. Let's just say he gets 2 to 3 on average. Yeah, I actually really like this spot too.
It's and Njoku being out is pretty significant too because I think he takes a lot of underneath stuff for yak stuff in the Cleveland offense. Elijah Moore's a guy that can do that stuff too. They like set up some specific like underneath routes for Elijah Moore. He just didn't get the yardage, but I could see that happening here against
Makes one guy miss, he can get this.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know how he was against man last year, but Judy like throws a wrench in all those stats anyways coming into the offense.
Yep. All right, next game on our list, we've got about 40 minutes here until the game starts. Seattle at New England. Checking yours, checking mine. Not seeing that we have any plays. Seattle open -3 with a total of 40. I think Seattle is a little undervalued here. Still at -3. The total's down to 38 to 39 now. I'll let you go into coverages before I kind of dive into my thoughts.
Yeah, New England 31% man. They'll pretty much mix it between 1 high and 2 high. 28% cover 1, high cover 2, 34% second. And then for Seattle, they'll run 16.3% man, so not very high. 32.7% cover 3, and then pretty high cover 4 team, 24.5%.
Couple thoughts here from me. First, I really like Seattle -3. I like Seattle money line. Cincinnati played well, or I'm sorry, Cincinnati played terrible. New England played well against Cincinnati, beat them 16-10. They won a game by only scoring 16 points against a team whose offense is supposed to be better than their defense. So they may have held him to 10 points, but with the injuries at receiver, snap count for Chase, that wasn't a full healthy Cincinnati. And I'm not buying the New England. Like if this were a week 1 matchup, I think it's -6 Seattle, and I still believe that it's -6 Seattle here. So I'll probably be on the spread before Sunday comes. I actually kind of like Geno Smith's passing yards under here. I think that they
Okay.
get the lead here, and the backup Kenneth Walker gets a bunch of rushing attempts in the second half. That's not an official play for me, though. That's just kind of a lean. Those are both leans for me. Kenneth Walker, though, rushing yards over would be my lean, but the New England defense is really talented, so I'm going to stay off of that.
Yeah, I would lean the Kenneth Walker rush yards as well. This game's another one of those gross ones. The quarterbacks were all so bad last week, so it's like we have Jacoby here, who was horrible, and then we have a bunch of like pass catchers where you just don't know who it's going to be in New England.
Yep.
And Jigba was bad last week. I was really high on him coming into the season. He was not good at all. I think you've got a spot here, maybe with DK Metcalf. I don't think Ramadre's toting 25 times again.
Right, I agree. 120 yards last game was absolutely crazy.
He was so good. But like New England's one of those teams that they could just muck the game up where it's like,
yep,
it's just like last week. It's 16-10, and it's like just a grind it out. I don't. There's really nothing I want to play here. I was looking at KJ Osborne's under, or like Tyquan Thornton's under, and they're like playing a bunch of snaps. KJ Osborne had like, he's saying he's hearing Walker might not play.
Yeah,
he's got an oblique injury or something like that.
Okay,
abdominal maybe. I still think he suits up and goes, but
okay.
Yeah, if not, he's got Zach Charbonnet. Will probably be the lead back there. Not much to say unless we really see a line, but
Metcalf might be shadowed by Gonzalez. I was actually looking Lockett here, but this is a new team, basically New England, new everything there. So I'm not going to have any official plays in this game. I did lean Lockett's Lockett's receiving yards over. But again, I don't like when I have plays that kind of play against each other. I like Lockett's receiving over, Geno's passing under. Generally, that means I'm just not playing either.
Lockett's so consistently good, too. It's like you think this is the year he takes a step back, and then Jigba takes a step forward.
Yep.
Didn't happen last week.
Yep. So those are my leans. Nothing official from me. Nothing official from you. Getting close to game time. We'll just move on here. Jets at Tennessee. Looking through your card, I don't see anything.
Nothing.
Looking through my card, I don't see anything. Jets opened. Hold on, sorry here. Jets at Tennessee. Jets opened anywhere from -3.5 to -5. I was seeing it just depends on how early certain books opened. Total opened at around 41, and it's currently at 41. Spread on this is -3.5. So those places that did open 5 have came down. The places that opened 3.5 kind of opened later and have stayed there.
All right, so we'll go over coverages. The Jets, about 40% man, 33.3% cover 1, 21.2% cover 3, 27.3% cover 4, pretty heavy. The Titans, 21.2% man. They'll mostly play cover 3 and cover 4, 33 and 24% respectively. And then they'll mix in cover 1 as like their man concept. This is another tough one for me.
Okay, I was just about to say the same thing. So we don't know. I don't know what to expect out of the Jets. They had a really difficult matchup week 1. San Fran, just lost the Super Bowl. I thought they looked excellent even with Ayuk. That game could have been even worse if Ayuk catches that pass. So I'm not going to sell on the Jets yet. I'm not going to sell on Garrett Wilson. I might not be as high as I was week 1, but I think this is a game where we could be impressed. Tennessee, I didn't watch any of the Chicago game. I know they held Caleb Williams to less than 100 passing yards, but as I'll mention later, I'm fading Caleb Williams this week. I'm just not a believer. Not yet. Maybe he'll make me look like a fool. But I just think this is a good spot for Aaron Rodgers to kind of get his feet planted with this offense. So I'm not going to fade him, but I didn't see anything that makes me want to tail him this week.
Yeah. I mean, he's just he looks older. Wilson, what he had
11 targets.
targets, but they were like literally peppering him like just over and over and over and over.
Yeah, I think Aaron
Like,
Rodgers even said something.
6 catches only.
Yeah.
And he's got a 5.5 line here, but it's juiced to 160, which is crazy.
And it's hard to tell about the Tennessee defense because they played a
tough
bum
read.
last.
That's what I mean. I have a tough read on this one. I like the Jets defense. Like if I could get a Will Levis to throw a pick, I think it was like 2 juice though. I would probably play something like that, but like I want to back some of these Tennessee pass catchers too. Like I want to, but this is just not the matchup for me to want to do that.
You're right, bro. The juice on the over here is crazy.
For 2 picks against Chicago. I mean, that last one was terrible. Lost them the game, but
yep.
It's like I want to back like a Calvin Ridley or DeAndre Hopkins in one of these games. This just isn't like I don't want to do it in this matchup. They're really good on the back end. I honestly think they have a really good front, even though they got gashed by the Niners. Which, like, with that said, I'd still do kind of like Tony Pollard a little bit. I think he had like 16 rushes last week. The coach speak was that they do want to get Tyjae Spears more involved. I'll believe that when I see it. But Bill Callahan, the offensive line coach there now, is from Cleveland, is the guy that like had the Browns like rushing offense just absolutely humming with those zone concepts. And I love those concepts that he has. I think it like lends to breaking off a lot more big runs whenever you're like running that zone stretch stuff. And I think Tony Pollard fits that. But the thing is I just don't know if this is the defense I want to do it against.
Yeah, I don't know how you feel about the Bears defense. I think the Bears defense is solid.
I think it's good. I think it's a good defense.
He had 82 rushing yards against the Bears. I actually kind of like the rushing yards read here. If I had to play anything, I think I would go rushing yards.
Yeah.
My fear would be them getting behind and kind of having to throw the ball a lot. Yeah. Yeah, that would be my biggest fear.
I just don't think they're that good of a team.
Yeah, I was gonna say, how do you feel? I'm not racing to the bank to place this one, but how do you feel about a Jets? Like if the Jets were -3, I'd probably lay it right now. I don't want to lay the 3.5, but if it were 3, I'd probably take it.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to lay 3.5 either. 3's not bad though. 2.5 would be beautiful, but
agreed. 2.5, I'd have probably already played it. I ain't gonna lie. All right, next up on our list. Wait, I'm sorry. Did you have anything in that game?
I got nothing.
I got nothing.
Just Pollard lean. Pollard was my only lean in this one.
What about Tampa Bay at Detroit? Detroit opened -6.5. Total opened at 48.5. Let me see where they are currently sitting at. Detroit's now -7.5. Total's about 51.5. So Detroit's got the money and the overs got the money. What are your thoughts? Coverages and everything.
Detroit, 43% man in week 1, 37.3% in cover 1. 23.5% cover 3, 21.6% in cover 4. Tampa, on the other hand, and I mean, they played out of their minds.
They did against Washington, though.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about how terrible they are. Tampa, 21% man, 21.2% cover 3, 27.3% cover 4, 24.2% cover 2. So they're mixing pretty good. I played Chris Godwin in this one. I'm playing the role here. Role change from last year. He played, I think, 50% of his snaps in the slot last week. This is plus money. 8 targets with a 5.5 average depth of target. So these are like quality targets that he's getting. We just watched Cooper Kupp destroy the Lions from the slot. So I think the line on this is what? It was 9? 7.5?
7.5, yes.
7.5. I think Tampa's playing from behind again in this one.
Yep.
And I think you're throwing a bunch. And I think the role change. So like when you look at his chart last season, you can just throw him up. He misses this a bunch. But it's because they moved him outside. And so he
Okay.
goes back to that slot role that he had, but now these games are with Tom Brady. Like, let's get that sorted out.
Right.
But going back to that slot role, I like him to be like targeted much heavier now in this offense. It's more motion and using Godwin underneath. So I just
I
think
will
he's gonna
say
be that underneath reception guy.
I really like this spot. I think everyone knows I was a big Tom Brady fan. Followed him to Tampa Bay, so
Yeah.
I got to watch a lot of Godwin. Kind of still a fan of Tampa Bay. I really like this read. He had eight targets last week. I think if he continues to see 6, 7, 8+ targets, he was 8 for 8 last week, right? So I
Yeah.
think his target share, if it's like you said in the slot, if he can stay 24+% in that target share with Baker Mayfield having to drop back to pass a lot. Because they are down. I really like that read there.
I
I
think
might
if you
even
get
tell
him
you on that.
7, I think if you get him 7 targets, he covers this just because of how quality those targets are going to be with
Yep.
that A dot so close to the line of scrimmage.
Yep. No, I completely agree. I actually, as a Buccaneers fan, I don't know if you know this, but his wife or girlfriend, baby mother, was complaining on the internet when they changed his role from slot to the outside because his usage went down.
Makes sense.
I just remember hearing about that. Anything else in the Tampa Detroit game? I did cash David Montgomery anytime touchdown score in overtime. That
I
was
knew I should have played that.
crazy as shit. Anyways, I'm not going to be on that this week. Tampa's defense, especially run defense, I think is going to be solid this year. I think this is going to be a passing game for Detroit rather than a running game.
How do you feel about Jameson Williams then, if you say that? Because
Bro.
what I saw of him, the dude, I mean, he might legitimately be the best receiver on that team.
45.5. I mean, I don't know if this is recency bias, but I want to nuke that over.
Same. I was looking at his 3.5 receptions because I just think you just get that guy the ball after looking at what he did.
I want to nuke, bro.
He was so good. Did you look up any of his separation scores? He was like the highest.
I did not.
Second high. I think Pickens was like the highest separator in the league last week.
Okay.
And then Jameson Williams was second. So I just think he's really good. I think he's like taking a major step forward this offseason and into this year. I think it's going to really hurt Amon-Ra St. Brown this year. And I think he's honestly, I think he might end up being the better wide receiver there.
I think it's great for Dallas, though, to have 2 threats.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, that's going to open it up. And then their backfield, they have 2 great running backs. I was so pissed when the Gibbs got the 1-yard line attempt last week. Fine with it after Montgomery got that.
Yeah,
but,
sure.
They're a really strong team.
Probably hurts Laporta too.
Yeah. Wow.
So like these are things to like just keep in mind.
Yeah, that is a very talented offense. And that might be why I don't take Jameson, just because they do have the ability to spread that ball around. Yeah.
It's just like, how do you not throw the ball to that guy, though? That was
agreed.
That was some special stuff.
We said the same thing, I think, about Amon-Ra last year, though. So
true.
Pittsburgh at Denver. This one's going to be a snooze, bro. Totals opened at 38. It's gone down to 36.5. Denver is a 3-point dog, has maintained a 3-point dog. Russell Wilson is, I would say, unlikely to play. Justin Fields looked bad, in my opinion. They didn't score 1 touchdown. He made 2 big throws, both to George Pickens. I'll give him props for that. He looked good with his feet. He honestly looked good with his feet. But he also hit Van Jefferson in his feet from 10 yards away, sailed a couple over the middle. So maybe I'm like a Steelers hater / fan, but I thought he looked awful last week. Think Russell Wilson would look better, but I don't think he's healthy, so I don't think he'll go. And do I have anything in this game? I do not have anything in this game. What about yourself?
I got nothing. I'm looking at these Denver lines because Bo Nix has a 150-yard passing line.
What did Kirk get last week, though? I'll tell you.
Oh, bad. Kirk was terrible, but like that system was horrible for him. And
they're stuck with him. They just gave him $140 million, all of it guaranteed, basically.
And Nix is terrible too, though. Like, kicker props might be the play in this one for real.
Facts, bro.
But I'm looking at Cortland Sutton. He was force fed the ball, dude. 12 targets for Cortland Sutton last week. So it's like when you have a 37.5 receiving line and you're getting fed 12 targets, how are you not covering that?
So here's something I want to mention with rookie QBs. I love this angle of kind of finding who they trust and then just hammering that guy.
They're just
This is
launching.
he's starting to look like the Bryce Young, Adam Thielen. Like if he gets pressured, fuck it, I'm throwing to Thielen.
Yeah.
That's kind of what I'm getting from Bo Nix and Sutton here with 12 targets. So I really like your read here. I really like this week. What was his ADOT last week? Do you know? I'll pull it up.
Let's look. I looked at this earlier. I don't think it was that. It might have been kind of deep, like 13 or something.
I'll be honest with you though, like I'm not rushing to bet anything just because the Steelers defense.
That's
I
what
mean,
I'm
there was
saying.
a strip sack that was called off. He was not offside on that
13.6.
one
So
call.
it was pretty deep.
Yeah. Oh, his ADOT was 13? Okay.
Decently deep. I mean, 13 though, you almost cover this. You could cover this in 2.
You could. You catch one ball, take it 5-10 yards.
12 targets is crazy. But Knicks had to throw the ball a ton. He did have to throw the ball a ton, 40 something.
I do think that they're going to trail in most of this game, if not all of this game, but I don't think it's going to get out of hand. That Seattle game was 26-20. I see something similar. I think Pittsburgh wins this game by 7 or fewer points.
I think so too. This is just Josh Reynolds had 8 targets. It's just a weird one, man.
And with Pittsburgh, it's hard to say. Like, I'm going to assume Fields is playing, but you could have Russell Wilson playing. How's that going to affect things? I did cash Najee's reception yards over last week. Probably not taking that this week against the Denver defense, though. There's nothing for me. And like I said, I normally have something on Pittsburgh. Not saying I won't come Sunday, but right now I'm looking at this board. Nothing is screaming at me, hey, let's try to make some money here.
No, I don't want to touch the running backs for Denver.
Agreed.
I don't want to touch the running backs for Pittsburgh. It's just kind of a mess. Like some of these games are just like not as an over's better. I don't want to touch them.
Agreed. 1,000% agreed. We're getting close to kickoff. Let's power through these last 3. Cincy at KC. I think Higgins didn't practice today, or maybe he was limited.
Did not practice.
Line open -5, still basically -5. There are some 5.5s and some 6s. So this one seems to be trending towards Kansas City. Opened at 50. I played it at 50. Played the under at 50. Now it's currently at 48. I'm hoping to see it come down a little bit more. I'd like to get a field goal middle on that position. So that's what I got for that game. In terms of props, I don't have anything, not seeing anything from you, but I'd love to hear about the coverages.
Yeah, so Cincinnati 31% man, all cover 1, and then 37.9% cover 3.
Okay.
KC 19.6% cover 1, 21.6% cover 4, 21.6% cover 6. They'll just kind of mix it up. I do have a prop in this game, but
okay,
it's out only on one book, so I can't give it out right now.
Okay.
It's on a Mickey Mouse book, and I'm hoping the line holds and drops on all the other books. But
I'm going to just go ahead. See. Since you said that, I had a similar thing happen to me yesterday. All the DFS shops opened Trevor Lawrence at 237.5 passing yards. So I sent that out to my little group. I'm like, look, if you're on DFS, pair that shit with something, right? And if the books open at that number, I'll hammer it. And then they open at like 222.5. So I hope your play holds for you. I know exactly.
Let's hope.
I know exactly what you're thinking here. So
I have one. Yeah, that's it. Last week I said, dependent on Chase, Joe Burrow under longest completion.
Did it cash?
Higgins was out. That cashes.
I did have Burrow's under passing yards last week. That soared under, but I'm a little more.
He's a little bit scared to throw down the field right now.
Yeah, I don't know if his wrist is completely healed either.
It doesn't seem like it. He's grabbing at it on the sidelines.
100%. No, I completely agree. I don't have a. Do you have a lean on like the side? Do you like Kansas City -7? Do you like Cincy?
I like Cincinnati
Do you? I like them to
+7
cover. I don't
cover.
like them outright. I think this
Yeah,
game should be
I
close to
like them. I like them to cover. I actually think there's a really strong chance that they cover. I think after week 1, Kansas City's getting a bit overrated here.
Agreed, and I think Cincy might be a little underrated. I
Yeah,
think
I agree.
I think they're going to
It's
look
a
better.
week to week league. Yeah, I think they
Yep.
for sure look better.
I lean again lean
Main.
Cincy plus the points, but not going to take it.
Same.
And then I am on the under. Next game we have, I do have a prop in this one. Chicago at Houston. And I want to go back just for anyone watching. I will add a banner here of mine and Joel's plays. I think I skipped over my Sam Darnold play under 233.5 passing yards. Really love that spot. Still available at every book. We're almost at game time, so I'm not going to go back. Just know Sam Darnold under 233.5 passing yards in the Minnesota game if I didn't go over that.
Yeah, you didn't.
I did not. I didn't think so. Chicago at Houston. Houston open -6.5, and that's where they currently sit. Total open 46. It's 45.5 now, basically across the book. So it's came down just slightly. I've mentioned this a couple times on the show. I do have one prop, but I'll let you go over coverages before I go into that.
Yeah, so Houston 20% man. That's mostly going to be all cover 4, 45.8% cover 4. And then they'll just mix underneath that. As far as Chicago, 26% man coverage, 36.8% cover 3, 23.7% cover 4, and then 22.7% cover 1.
Okay, so my prop in this one is going to be Caleb Williams under 219.5 passing yards. I'm just going to go over to the market and see if that number's still available. Caleb Williams. Actually, you can get a little bit better price at FanDuel. You can get 222.5 at FanDuel. I love this spot. We can go to Props.cash. There's only going to be one game. He had 98 yards last week against Tennessee. Man, I don't know. Houston's defense.
Bad.
Yeah, it is bad. Houston's defense is going to play better than Tennessee's defense. I understand they should probably be down 10 points by the end of the first quarter. So maybe he throws the ball a lot here. He did not impress me week 1. He didn't impress me in the preseason, and he didn't impress me at USC. So to see this line at 222.5, it's nothing more than he hasn't shown me why the line should be that high.
Yeah, and he's getting this straight off of like where he was drafted. And then when you factor in, like you might be getting some help here. Rome Odunze and Keenan Allen no shows at practice today, so those two dudes are out.
It's going to be tough for him, dude.
That's
even
tough.
If they're down.
That's tough. That's tough.
93 yards in
and
the first.
I'm sitting here waiting for Keenan Allen props to pop up. 11 targets last week. I almost played his 4.5 receptions line. Thankfully, I didn't because I would have been so mad that he only caught 4 balls out of 11 targets. He's not even up. Like he doesn't have any lines because he's hurt. But
okay.
If there's another 4.5, I'll slam that.
Yeah, nothing jumping out to me in the Chicago game. DJ Moore, maybe his lines are up. 62.5. Can the quarterback even throw it 62 yards? All right, let's move on. We got one more to get to, and then we will call it a show. Atlanta at Philly. Atlanta looked really bad against Pittsburgh. Their only score, I think, was because they had one laid up to them in the end zone or red zone. Philly opened -6, total 48.5. It's -6.5. The total has came down a little bit. I'm looking here. You do have a play in this. I'll let you go over the coverages, and I've got nothing.
Yeah, real quick, coverage-wise. Where is Atlanta? Atlanta, only 10% man, 48% cover 3, 24.1% cover 4. And then as far as the Eagles, 24% man. They're heavy cover 3, 43% cover 3. They'll just mix everything else underneath. I do have a play in this one. It's Devonta Smith again. He dropped at the 4.5 line again. I talked about this last week on the show that he's playing the slot, and he had a 27% target rate last season when Devonta Smith was playing the slot. He's still been covering, like he covered this a ton last season without playing in the slot. Now in the Kellen Moore offense, you have to just assume he's going to be targeted more. When I was watching the game last week, they were running bubble screens to him. They were running RPOs with Saquon Barkley, where the next read was Devonta Smith on the outside. And so I think he had 8 targets last week. For me, this is a must play at the 4.5 line anytime you can get it with Devonta Smith.
What odds did you lay on this?
I laid minus 140.
I'm going to tell you on this. I'm going to lay the 140. I really like this spot a lot. I'm actually going to. Did you play this at FanDuel?
Yeah, I did.
I'm going to check ESPN.
I think I played DraftKings.
FanDuel is still at the 140. I'm going to check ESPN just to make sure there's not a better price, but I'm going to tail this. And then did you play Jonathan Taylor as well? We can get a write-up for that as a collab.
I did play Jonathan Taylor, yep.
All right. Let me see if I'm going to tail this. I'm
going to tail it. We skipped a game, by the way.
My fault. What'd we miss?
The Rams.
Rams at Arizona divisional game?
I do believe we did.
All right, let's circle back. I know we did because that's the only game that flipped through 0. I must have just saw Pittsburgh there and got excited. Rams opened -1. Total opened at 49.5. That game has flipped. Now Arizona's become the favorite at -1. I think Puka's out 4 weeks. Is that right?
Puka's out.
The total was bought up at first, but has since been bought back down. I'll let you go over the coverages.
Yeah. So for the Rams, 26% man. They'll play 42% cover 3, so heavy cover 3 with cover 1 underneath that, 22%, a lot of single high. That makes sense. And then as far as Arizona, 36% cover 3, 20% cover 4, 13.3% cover 1. So they'll play more man 33% of the time. And I just had one lean in this one. I really like Kyren Williams here.
Rushing yards or
rushing yards. I want to see if this somehow comes down just a bit, but last week I faded the Arizona Cardinals front 7 with James Cook. He cashed that. I think the Rams actually play from ahead in this game. And when you scroll down and look at Kyren's snap share, I think the main scare for him was how many snaps is he going to be playing? He played 91% of the snaps. And so the concern was he's playing punt returner, all of this. Like they thought that Blake Corum was going to get touches. Sean McVay talked after the game about how he wants to get Blake Corum more touches, but I'll believe that when I see it. When you got a guy playing 91% of the snaps, like that's someone I want to back against a bad defense.
18 touches too, 18 rushing attempts.
And he had a bad game. I like buying players off of bad games.
No, I like
especially in good matchups.
I like that too.
And check out how he played against Arizona the last 2 matchups.
158 last season.
Take that off.
Christ. 143 in both. Wow. He cooked them last year.
So he has.
And James Cook had about 75 against Arizona, didn't he?
Yeah, right. I think Kyren's a better player as well.
Yeah. And I agree with your sentiment too. I do think the Rams will be playing with the lead in this one, even with Puka hurt. Cooper Kupp had 140 yards, I think. Their offense will be just fine. I would agree with you, though. I'm keeping this as a lean. I'm not going to rush to the bank and bet this one, but I do lean over here as well.
How do you feel about Cooper Kupp's receptions line at 7.5?
7.5.
7.5 heavy juice to the over.
Well, let's go over here. What's Arizona? Will you run through the coverages for me one more time? What'd they run against the Bills?
Yeah, real quick. So they're 33.3% man coverage.
Okay.
36.7% cover 3. And then they just mix underneath. Cover 4 would be the next highest.
So they actually mix it up a decent bit.
Yeah. Underneath their cover 3, which is their main.
7.5.
If I'm being honest, I almost lean under on this.
I don't know. Without Puka though, it's fucking
7.5 is just. Yeah, I
it's
mean,
a lot.
I won't play it, but I just think I lean under that. It's a lot of receptions,
It is.
but he's so good. So
It's kind of crazy laying under 7.5 and getting plus money.
that's what I'm saying. But I mean, hey, 60% of the time without Puka.
Right.
Somebody else has to get receiving yards here too, though, right? Like Demarcus Robinson. Have you looked at any of the other receivers? Like Demarcus Robinson at 42.5, not bad.
Let me check his stats. He was there last year.
You'll have to scroll down and look at his snap share. I wouldn't even bother with that. Like his snap share just went like way up.
You think 65 plus?
I mean, I think it's guaranteed.
Yeah, I would lean the over. Bro, what do you think about Trey McBride actually? I was so high on him this year, and now I'm like, was I wrong or did they just get fucked up by Buffalo?
No, I think they just struggled against Buffalo.
Okay. I hope that's the case. That's what I think too.
I'm having a tough time buying on tight ends right now because
Well, I mean, what was it? 20 plus quarterbacks threw under 200 yards in week 1.
terrible.
So it's awesome.
You think that has anything to do with the new kickoff and like where teams are starting their field position? I was thinking
It honestly might. It might be changing the way that offenses are approaching each drive, depending on where they start from.
Yeah, I was thinking the same, but it's just like I think teams also just struggled a bunch. But
I think Marvin Harrison Jr. probably gets a couple more looks. I definitely wouldn't back him.
I think he gets fed, but
I agree.
Like they have to start forcing the ball a little bit.
McBride did have 9 targets.
He could have had a way better day.
Yeah, I was just gonna say if I had to make a play, it would be this over 5.5 at plus money. I like this. I do like your Williams rushing yards as well. If I had to have 2 leans, those would be 1 and 2.
Yeah,
Cup, I would just stay completely away from.
Yeah, I would as well.
Honestly, I would go reception yards over before I would go receptions anything.
Yeah. Those yards look good.
Yeah, those would be my 3 leans in this game. And again, like I've got a couple plays out. So wow, this looks really good without.
It looks crazy.
That's a Sunday game too. I would love to get out of here 4-0 or 3-0, whatever I have today. 3-0. I'm up 5.5 units, I think, in the NFL this season. If I'm 3-0 on Sunday, I'm probably firing a couple more,
Okay. Yeah, I like that.
But that's where I'm at. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 plays. Call it 8 plays now because we're both on Jonathan Taylor. Actually, let me get all of our plays up as a banner for everybody. I like to do this in NBA. So I'm going to go Joel first. He's got Minshew over 203.5.
Yep.
Passing yards.
-110.
You've got Watson over 11.5. Longest rush.
Yep.
You've got Godwin over 5.5 receptions. And for everyone that is looking for Joel's plays, they're all free too. So just
free, everything free.
Check out his page and you'll get everything he's got released.
I write them all up too.
One of the last true OGs in the
I'm the last one left, dude. I think I'm the only free guy left.
I ain't gonna lie, I sold out. I mean, you the last one.
Hey, that's all right. Get that money.
All right, so let's show that while I get this other one rolling across the bottom. Joel, any closing thoughts or anything? Did you play any time touchdown scores last week? Do you play that market?
I haven't been playing that market, but I should have, dude.
Okay.
I definitely should have. It looks like it was pretty profitable, so
I did okay in it last year.
I'll start looking into it.
I ain't gonna lie, like it was my best market, but it's definitely a fun market. Buffalo, Miami under 50. Josh Allen, anytime tutter. Caleb Williams. That's the only play. Hey, I'll be honest with you. I had negative closing line value on one play last week. It was, I think, the only play you disagreed with too, and it did miss the Mahomes under. I regretted it not long after playing it, if we're being honest. Under 221.5 and Sam Darnold. Next week, I'll do a better job of staying up to date on this. So y'all aren't having to wait to the end. Add banner. Let's see if I can add 2. All right. Everyone that scrolls to the end to find the recap, you can find it right here. I'll bust through it real quick, and then Joel and I will call it. The game's actually kicking off. Minshew over 203.5 passing yards. Watson over 11.5 longest rush. Chris Godwin over 5.5 receptions. Devontae Smith over 4.5 receptions. Mark Andrews over 38.5 receiving yards. Those are for Joel. He also played Jonathan Taylor with me as well over rushing yards. Next, we have Miami money line, Buffalo, Miami under 50, Allen anytime tutter, Caleb Williams under 219.5 passing yards, Derek Carr under 221.5 passing yards, Sam Darnold under 233.5 passing yards. I also did tail Joel's Devontae Smith's play. That's all we got. Joel, you got anything?
Got nothing.
All right, man. I'll catch you
football.
Yes, sir. We'll catch you all next Thursday. I appreciate y'all for tuning in. Until then.
Later, y'all.